Okay, so I'm Jasmine and I'm the Events and Communications Administrator at One Nucleus. And today I'm joined by Sezgi Nuzumlali. And we're going to be discussing kind of Sezgi's career and how she got there and things like that. So I'm going to hand you over to Sezgi now, and she's going to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what she does.
Great. Yeah. So nice to be here. Right now what I do is I'm a marketing consultant for a company called Quick Green. They create physical barriers between patient beds, such as curtains, but to replace curtains. I am, because I speak German, I am especially helping them in the market entry strategy in Switzerland. But if you go back all the way, I went to a German high school and I'm Turkish. But besides all of that, I want to study engineering, especially bio-related engineering. So I studied chemical and biomolecular engineering at Johns Hopkins in the USA for 4 years. And a lot of people, maybe people who know US or Johns Hopkins, it's a very biology and science-based school. So a lot of people from my school did become doctors or became PhD students. And to understand that, I worked at a stem cell engineering lab during my studies for 2.5 years in a lab like that, to understand what really science is, basically. I quite liked it, but before jumping into doing a PhD right away, I wanted to do it full time. So I got accepted to a lab at Harvard University on early cancer diagnostics. It's a lab on a chip kind of device that we were developing. So I worked there for 2 years, and I'm kind of glad I have not started a PhD right away, because I came to realize that I'm not a lab person. I love working with smart people, especially having like PhD people, like they're so smart, but it's just I require a little bit more like fast-paced environment. And both my parents are business owners separately, so I guess that it kind of influenced me as well. I did my MBA at Boston University in healthcare management. And I was quite young. I was 25 and I did that, compared to the medium age of MBA student in the US. It's usually 31. And I worked with 4 different companies, 2 medical device companies, 1 pharma and 1 biotech, some of them just like 3 months long, some of them 6, and some of them a year. It gave me a quite good idea of what I want to do. So I recommend a lot of experience if you can, as much as you can, and especially when you're young. And I mentioned I'm Turkish, so living in the US for 8 years, since 18, I just became an adult in the US, and I decided, I should go back to Turkey and experience a developing country's biotech or healthcare market. So I returned back to Turkey. I worked at Siemens as their MRI product manager, and also after a company called B. Brown, again, like a product manager for their regional anesthesia products. They're all medical devices, and they are both German companies. So I use my German, and it was a great experience, because it's quite different from how I grew up and got used to in the US. Marketing is done very differently. I learned how to interact with the key opinion leaders, how to sit down and like talk to them in a less official environment. Let's say like going on a dinner and talking to them with my boss and their colleagues. I attended a lot of surgeries. I learned how to create different presentations and weaknesses and strengths of our products according to the people I'm talking to. So it would be a different kind of presentation an angle I would use for hospital owners than a doctor and a technician. So I had to learn how to speak 3 different kind of ways and take a biology heavy talk to a technical talk to MRIs or regional anesthesia products. So it was quite good. But I in Turkey, at least my experience was the product was not being developed in my own country. It was developed in Germany. It came to Turkey. I could always give feedback back to the German headquarters, which I did a lot, and did get implemented one of the features that I wanted into the product for the second version. But I just wanted to be close to the product itself, being an engineer. So I didn't want to go back to US, like it's quite far from where my family lives. So I said, knowing German, it could be Germany or England, but I feel like knowing English in Germany is not that special, whereas knowing German in UK is probably a more unique trait. So yeah, it was just literally strategy, and I chose UK. Also, obviously, like London, Cambridge, Oxford, that golden triangle is smaller than the US, and also definitely compact and powerful. So I thought it would be a really good idea to be able to be in one of these 3 cities. And in the meantime, I've done another master's program at Imperial on healthcare and design. So half the class was from Imperial and half the class was from Royal College of Art. And we would come together and create projects on how to do design thinking, but also doing that in the healthcare environment. So it was quite interesting for me. I'm quite glad I did that, because when I was leaving the US, I asked my principal investigator at Harvard, what is something that you think the healthcare market is lacking? And he said big data. Obviously, we all know that. And then engineers who actually know how to do like user-friendly designs. And he apparently paid a lot of money to change the design that I was working on, and after I left, into something that is usable in a lab, like in real time. So he said I would have appreciated if one of you actually could do that. So so I said I think it's data analysis. It's quite technical, and I think technical things can be learned on your own. So I actually did have a data course at Imperial as well, online, and I can do Python coding now. It's all about the way your brain works. I'm quite good with numbers or like logical things, so I learned it on my own. Whereas I think design was something I'm not gonna say I wasn't good at. I didn't even know how to do it. So I needed a lot of help on that. So after all of this, I now, like I said, work as a marketing consultant. But Quick Screen is a company where the R&D is in-house, engineering is in-house, marketing, everything is in-house. It's quite nice. And I get to just like go to the next room, and there's the R&D team, and that was my dream when I was working in Turkey. So I'm quite happy with where I am. Yeah, I guess that's it.
It's amazing. I find it really fascinating how you've kind of jam-packed all of these experiences in and kind of grabbed every opportunity that you could to kind of get to where you are today. I think that's really inspirational. And I mean, you've covered a lot of stuff about your education, so I'm kind of intrigued about what challenges you faced along the way and what kind of key lessons that you'd learned.
Okay, so my experiences could be a bit different than a regular British student going to a school in Britain, because I was Turkish from a German high school going to a university education that was fully in English. I guess language was my first problem, because my whole school in high school, I guess you guys call it like A levels here, it was all in German. So
Wow.
switching from that to all in English was, yeah, the first year was a process. So if you have that problem, I suggest read the chapter that you're going to be covering in that class before, and learn the terms, and get ready to understand, and also be okay with not understanding everything your professor is saying. It's okay. You'll be okay. You just might have to work harder than other people in the first year or something. I guess that's the first challenge I had. Second challenge was, this is specific to American, like, I'm gonna say Hopkins because I don't know. I know Boston University and Harvard, but I guess in the US, what I have learned was almost every student in the class would finish the book before even the semester started. I think that's insane. I never done it. So if you don't want to be that person, you should be okay with having average results, but then it doesn't mean that you want success in life. I think what you might lack or choose to lack in terms of scores of your tests and stuff, you can, and I think must, kind of complement it with lab work or outside work experience is what I'm talking about. So that's what I try to do every time I was in a school, also to understand the culture that I was in, because how do they work, right? So it was very different than Turkish way of working. I learned after I moved back to Turkey. So I think the first thing is just adapt to the culture fully because it's beautiful. Also, try to, like, I think when you're young, it's good to try like a lot of different things quite fast and see what you like or you don't like, or what you don't like, and then you will reach to a point where I like this. Because it might look a bit weird on your CV if you're in your 30s and you're still trying. Which is, I'm not saying it's not, it's bad, which I have done quite a while, but I'm just saying I kind of regret the fact that maybe I could have done more different things. But I always kind of knew what I wanted. But if you're lacking in that, you should have a lot of different experiences, I think, and work with different people who you might not really like and who you would call really horrible, not horrible, but hard bosses, to learn how to work with people.
Amazing. So you mentioned also that you did your MBA at 25, was it? And obviously
Yeah,
that's
it's
quite a lot
young.
younger, yeah, than
Yeah.
most people. Do you think that was the right thing to do at the time? Are you glad that you did it when you were younger, or would you have preferred to have maybe done it slightly later on? Or
I think it should have been a bit later. And I think 31 is a good age. 25, okay, let's talk about the positives. So I had no idea about, like, I was an engineer and I was in a lab. So I didn't really work with companies before. So it was really good for me to work with how companies think about. But I also made sure that I had these work experiences before even I started the school, saying, I got acceptances from other schools, you have to give me something. So I got a scholarship, and then also a promise that they will help me work with these companies. That was one of them. So I think, I thought that because I was so young, I was behind on most people in the class in terms of experience, and it definitely showed. So I thought that I had to, like, catch up and, like, work in companies like that a lot, which I think was a good idea. But also on the negative side, I was stressed a lot more, I think. And even though I studied engineering, I thought, like, MBA for me, the classes were not hard in terms of materials, but I think juggling all different kinds of things, which MBA requires you to do, comes after. Like, I think that skill is, you kind of develop it in a company if you work for a while, and not right after school or a lab work. Although you juggle a lot of things at lab, but all technical things. So I think for me it was a bit of a stressful 2 years, because MBA is 2 years in the US. I think if I were 31, I would have probably be less stressed. Also, appreciate my classes a lot more. So we had, if we were learning marketing or operations and stuff, I love them. But then there would be classes with human psychology, or how to handle like criticism and stuff like that, which I loved, but I didn't appreciate it as much because I never really had those experiences. Or they would talk about how to manage people, which I never done, so it wasn't really interesting to me. And I think when you're 31, 33, you're at an age where you either start being like to do that, or you have done it and you learn a lot from your peers in the class. So I think doing an MBA that early on is not my advice. But if you want to learn about different things, there are a lot of like online courses now, like compared to when I did it. We can learn about finance, you can learn about marketing, you can do those. And then I think people should do an MBA when they think they need it. I'm not saying when you're 31, oh, it's my age, I should do it either. Like, you could be like 45 and decide that you never needed it, which is completely fine, I think.
Cool, amazing. So we became kind of connected, I guess, through the mentoring initiative that we have here at One Nucleus, which was amazing. Have you always had a mentor throughout your career? Have you always had somebody that you've been able to go to? And what are your thoughts on how, I guess, useful it is?
I think mentors are extremely important. So I think One Nucleus is doing God's work. It's really good. Always, I mean, my first mentor was and always will be my mom, because she has her own company. So she has a lot of experiences dealing with people, like being really stressed, but also staying calm under pressure. Like, a lot of different things happen to you when you're an owner of a company. So I think that was that. But then my mom is an engineer as well. So a lot of her friends, especially women, which was rare in Turkey back when she was studying in university, there were like 7 women in like 200 class. Weird, but they all became really successful women, and I always would meet when my mom would meet them and just listen, even starting from a young age. So you might not have that opportunity, let's say, but I think because the information is a lot more accessible these days, I think you can find your own mentors. And one mistake I did was just like, I chose one person as my mentor, and then I expected her to be the best thing that could be in every aspect of the I guess advice, or like the areas that I was looking for, which is not going to happen. So I think if I'm good, you can take like, oh, Sezgi is this and that, and you like that about me, so, and you respect that I'm good at that, so come to me for those, but don't come to me for other things that I suggest you and stuff. Just like, don't hear it. But then you should go to another person for those different areas that you're taking your advice from. So it's, I think, not just one mentor, but have, I would say, like 3. I mean, it's just like a random number, but like any number you want. But I think 1 is quite it's not the best number. I think you should have a couple to look to. And if you're a woman, I think it should be definitely a woman and a man. And I think different genders can give you different kinds of perspective. So I think it's nice. For me, for example, I would like to have one woman that has similar backgrounds to me, and also completely different, like a male from like I don't know, fast in the US. I know it's somewhere else, but to give me different perspectives.
Amazing. So you've already shared some really fantastic advice, and I think it's really valuable hearing your experiences. Just before we finish, do you think you can give me maybe one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
I would advise myself to not be turned off from learning from the people you don't like.
Mhm.
So even if you don't like that person, always find something in any person you meet that you can use to improve yourself. Even if you like almost hate that person, there's one thing that person is probably doing well that you can improve on. So I think when I was young, when I didn't like people or if I didn't respect them, I was just like, stay away from them and don't like, I wasn't open-minded. So basically it's just more about open-minded, being open-minded about people that you might not agree with, but like they must be doing something right in their lives. One thing at least. It could be cooking. Just learn cooking from them.
Definitely. No, I think you're right. And I think it's easy to do when you're younger. It's good to embrace what people bring that's different to the table.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking about your career journey up to now, and I hope that those who have watched this find it just as useful, and look forward to seeing you all at the conference.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.